Greetings, Kings. Nobody likes to deal with a dead electronic device while out in the field, away from home, or away from your vehicle for an extended period of time. It's pretty easy to grab a couple spare batteries, a power bank for your phone, and maybe a charging cable, and be good to go for a single day outing to the flat range or a weekend LARP with the boys. However, things like regional instability, natural disasters, and the all-out conquest on your neighborhood by the HOA goons can quickly leave you away from the power grid for weeks or even months at a time. Individual power management in those longer-term operations becomes a much more complicated and involved process when you start measuring your operation lengths in weeks instead of days. And if you're unable to maintain your electronic devices during those time periods, it can leave you very vulnerable. If your cell phone goes down, you won't be able to swipe on Grindr anymore. You'll lose access to your imagery and potentially navigation devices. If comms go down, you won't be able to communicate with the homies or listen to emergency broadcasts. And if your lights, your night vision, or your signaling devices go down, it will hinder your ability to continue the operation in low light conditions and potentially even limit recovery efforts. So in today's video, I'd like to go over what I personally carry for my individual power management needs, as well as talk a bit about what has worked for me, what hasn't, and lessons learned in my 6 to 7 years of military experience serving in combat arms, as well as LARPing with the boys out on the flat range and in the field. Let's get into it. So what is an individual power management kit? Well, simply, it is a series of items that allows a single person to manage all of their electronic devices and keep them charged and operational independently and utilizing these items that they would be carrying on their person. Usually that consists of some sort of power bank, whatever necessary charging cords are needed for whatever devices they have, spare batteries, and potentially a power generating item, usually a solar panel. Of course, what you pack and how you pack it is going to depend on your electronic needs, which we'll get into in the next segment. Before we go out buying battery packs, solar panels, and charging cords, we need to assess our needs and identify what electronic devices we have that will need to remain charged while we're conducting our operation. Here laid out before you are all the items that I have identified that I will need to keep charged while I'm out in the field. The only thing not shown is my cell phone, which I'm currently using as the camera to film this video. Identifying your needs when it comes to power management like this will help you understand what batteries you need, what cords you need, and what level of power source you will need to keep all these devices topped off. You'll also want to consider how often you'll be using each of these devices and how quickly they drain batteries. Also taking a moment to determine which items are going to be high use items and which items drain fast will also help you determine what you'll need to plan for in regards to power management. As an example, my radio will be on most of the time while I'm doing my operation, and unless I'd like to set up comms windows, I'll need to make sure to pack extra batteries for it, or at least a way to charge it. Items like my pistol light, I don't plan on using too terribly much, and my IR strobe is only an emergency device. Things like my rifle optic though, I generally keep on most of the time, and my headset also remains on the majority of the time, although it is not a very high consuming device and the batteries in it tend to last a while. Considering also the environment you'll be working in, if it's very cold, batteries tend not to work very well, and if it's not very sunny, solar panels will have diminished effectiveness. So things you want to keep in mind and take stock of before building your kit, and arm yourself with knowledge, that way you can tailor it exactly to your needs. So now that we have identified our needs for power management, the length of our operation, and we've taken into consideration our environment, we're gonna break into what I have put together as my go-to power management kit out in the field for extended operations. This kit has been a culmination of about 6-7 years of experience within the military combat arms, and I've tried a lot of different things that work, that haven't worked, and I've had a lot of lessons learned that we're going to talk about today. So the kit itself is dispersed throughout the main compartment of my assault pack. I'm not super worried about easily accessing it super quickly. I just want to make sure that the components of the power management kit are going to be safe and stored properly in a way that won't damage them and in a way that they will not easily get wet, because when you're dealing with batteries and electronics, you definitely don't want those things to be wet. for really any period of time. So getting into the largest item in the kit and the one that's the easiest for me to grab is my power generating item. And that's going to be a very simple Goal Zero Nomad 10. I chose this type of solar panel because it fits in my pack really well. It's pretty light. It packs down very slimly and fits right in this sort of pseudo laptop or camel pack pouch really well. And it's able to charge my devices fairly quickly. And what I kind of learned, I just have some duct tape here that covers the logo just for the sake of signature reduction if I have this out somewhere. I went with a standalone panel like this. As you can see, it just stands up really easy. You point it in the sun. It always likes to try to close itself, so you kind of have to mess with it a little bit here. But I went with a standalone panel like this because a lot of the single panel power banks, like this one here that you see, I'll move this back to give myself some more space. Something like this is something that a lot of people will start with. This sort of all-in-one battery pack, a pseudo turnkey solution. You set this in the sun, it charges the internal battery, and then you can plug in your devices via the USB ports in it. I do clearly keep one of these in my kit, but it mostly serves as a battery bank, as these single panel battery packs tend to not have enough solar capability to give the internal battery any sort of real or noticeable charge. These battery packs are really common, however, a lot of them are Chinese made, they're really cheap, and sometimes the solar panel isn't even connected to the battery. It just charges this light here, or just powers this light. So I've had some luck with these, and for maybe a week or so, you can get by with something like this if it was a larger battery. This one's only 5 milliamp hours by Rothco. And one of these with a beefier battery in it can be used for about a week or so in the field, depending on how often you're using your devices and how often you need to charge them. But it's not really a good... But it's... Okay, are you done? Nope, not yet. But battery packs like these generally aren't sustainable out in the field, especially if you have anything more than just like your cell phone to charge. In my experience, I can get maybe 1 to 4% power on my cell phone for every hour that this device sits in direct sunlight. That's not really sustainable for me. Like I said, a week or so, totally fine, works as a good battery pack. Set it out in the sun, help, recoup maybe a small amount of power that you have used to charge your devices, but this really doesn't work for me. Some of the multi-panel packs I've had very good luck with though. It's very similar to this, a little bit larger, and it has folding panels, solar panels that fold outwards that you would deploy and set in the sun to assist in the charging of the internal battery. Those work a lot better in my experience. Despite them still being Chinese and being pretty cheap, I've been able to get 4 to 12% charge on my phone for every hour that I've left one of those devices out in the sun. And I think that if you're looking at less than 2 weeks, or you don't have a lot of devices that need to be charged, a lot of batteries, then those can, in some situations, be a good all-in-one turnkey solution. I moved away from them though, as they are pretty heavy and they are not the most rugged, and they don't pack super well in my kit. They're pretty heavy, they are a lot of weight all in one location, and if one item breaks, or it's your only item you have, so if it breaks, you're kind of screwed. But I have had really good luck with those, and I would say that if you want something that is simple and turnkey, and you're able to fit that in your pack well, then those do work pretty well, at least in the short term. Just be cautious, they're not very rugged, and they're usually of Chinese manufacturer, so they tend not to last quite as long and can be of dubious quality control. So that's why I usually opt with just a standalone solar panel and my battery bank. This is an 8,000 milliamp hour one from Nebo. I pair it sometimes if I need more capacity with this solar panel here, or this all-in-one pack here. And I keep this topped off before I go out on my operations, and I can charge my cell phone 2.5 times off of this alone. I can get about 1 charge with this, and I can also keep all of my rechargeable batteries, which we'll get into, topped off with these two, and in the event that I'm draining a ton of power, using my lights a lot at night, I can charge these devices off of the Nomad 10 and keep them topped off and keep them full for my other batteries and other needs. So again, that's why I chose a nice portable, lightweight, folding panel, a standalone panel over an all-in-one type system. I do of course still have this battery pack here. However, it's not my go-to, and this battery pack alone is quite anemic, and I'd recommend that for more than just a week in the field, you pick up something a little more powerful. But now that we have laid out the battery bank itself, which again, nice, small, lightweight, very capable, and my generator, let's go into now the rest of my kit. So getting into the rest of the kit now, it lives in the bottom pouch here of my pack, and I have it packed down inside of a Ziploc bag to help keep it watertight and just organize everything. We'll close our pack now. Here are all the remaining items, and we'll kind of take them all out individually and talk through why I have each of them as we go. So getting into the pack, we'll start with our spare battery for the UV5R. Just a basic low profile emergency battery. I use this in the event that for whatever reason I'm using my radio all the time and my main battery dies. I can slot this one in and still be able to listen primarily and communicate with others. The battery that I have inside the UV5R is rechargeable, so I do plan on topping it off when I'm not using it, or maybe at night while I'm sleeping, as it can be charged while it's still on. However, in the event that my chargers can't keep up, there's a lot of rain, things of that nature, this serves as my backup. A spare 9-volt, as you saw earlier, my IR strobe that I have for self-marking runs off of a 9-volt battery. And that IR strobe does not require a lot of energy at all. It's a very low energy requirement item, and it does not consume a lot of power from a single 9-volt battery. However, if I am using that IR strobe, it's likely to indicate my position to homies with nods or signaling to recovery teams or aircraft. And I really want to make sure I'm able to do that. So having a spare 9-volt doesn't take up a ton of space, it's not too heavy, and it gives me that assurance I'll always be able to send out some sort of IR signal for self-marking. In here, I have now a Surefire rechargeable CR123 kit. It runs off of a micro USB, and it allows you to slot in 2 rechargeable CR123 batteries and of course charge them off of a battery pack of some kind. That's really handy for me, and something that I stumbled upon not long ago when I started to look into power management for my weapon mounted lights. Both my pistol and my rifle run off of one CR123. The more observant of you will realize that these aren't the Surefire rechargeable batteries inside this battery pack. They are just disposable ones. And that is because the rechargeable CR123s live inside of my weapon mounted lights. I can take one of the disposable ones, hot swap it with the rechargeable, slot the rechargeable one into this power pack, and charge it off of one of my battery packs while I'm on the move, or leave it at base camp to charge off of my solar panel. That flexibility really helps me cut down on weight of carrying a bunch of extra batteries and running low on disposable batteries if that was my only power source for my weapon mounted lights. So the Surefire Kit, real nice. They're about 20, 30 bucks, including the batteries, and they are super handy, especially because if you have those rechargeable batteries live in your kit, once you're done with an operation, say you never change them out, but you use those devices a lot, you can take these batteries out, slot those in, charge them up, and replace them for the next operation, instead of having a single disposable battery that you use, and then it dies, or that you have to swap out between every single operation. Next item we'll talk about is similar to the Surefire CR123 rechargeable kit. It is a Rayovac AA and AAA rechargeable kit. So you can buy these from hardware stores for I think 25-ish bucks. They'll come with 2 AA's, 2 AAA's. I've plussed it up with a couple other aftermarket AA's and AAA's. And I keep this for a similar thought process and reason as the Surefire with the CR123s. Most of my devices run on AAA batteries. And jumping ahead a bit, I have a stack of 5 disposable AAA's and 1 rechargeable AAA here. as my shooting headset and my headlamp both run on AAAs. So the rechargeable batteries are in there. In the event that they die or in between operations, I can throw them into this charger here and top them off while I rock the disposable batteries in the event that I need to. It also runs on a micro USB, same as the Surefire. And this is currently loaded with AA's, as I don't use AA's personally. My rifle light can run on them, but between having so many Surefire lights or having so many Surefire batteries, I'm not likely to need a AA. But in the event that the homies have something that run on AA's, a lot of optics and a lot of night vision can run on AA's, I can flex these to the boys if I need to, and they don't really add a ton of weight to the system overall. So again, that's the battery pack that I use to charge up my AA's and AAA's. Finally, I have my Cordage bundle. So this bundle has all of the cords that I have identified that I'll need to charge my devices or these battery packs. Getting into it here, we're gonna make a mess. We have my Garmin charger for my Garmin watch that runs off of USB, so I can plug it into any of these battery packs or the solar panel directly. I have my cradle point charger. This is for the battery that lives on my UV5R. Allows me to charge it off of, again, the battery packs or the solar panel. I have a USB to Type-C. This is primarily for my phone or whatever other analog I'm using, my EUD, things of that nature. I have my USB to micro USB. This allows me to mainly go from my solar panel to my battery packs or to my battery charging kits. This cord will connect to the solar panel and connect to any of these to charge whatever batteries that they have slotted in or internal. I also have a triple splitter cord. This is just a USB to Lightning, to micro USB, and to Type-C. Having one of these around in an emergency situation to charge really any device you'll realistically come across is handy, and in the event that one of the homies is a caveman and he's running an iPhone for whatever reason, I've got a lightning port for him. These, again, they're nice to have. They don't charge super fast though. Usually, I think there's something with the fact that there's 3 cords, power runs to all 3, despite you maybe only having one device connected to it. It does definitely charge slowly, and I wouldn't rely on this unless I had a very small power consumption rate, or I need it to be ultra lightweight. So these are handy, but more of a backup in case any of these cords break or there's something that I have that I need to charge that isn't one of these cords. Finally, I have a small wall outlet. I think this is an Apple wall outlet, actually. That's funny. But I have a small wall outlet for plugging into 120 volt outlets. Not every operation is going to be super crappy and out in the field the whole time. You might have access to, grid power, and you'll want to take advantage of that if that is allotted to you, or while you're out in a degraded environment in the event that you come across the opportunity to hook into the power grid and top off everything, especially if it's running low and the sun hasn't been providing enough power for you. One of these is super handy to have and a nice creature comfort. Finally, last but not least, I have a single CR123. This is used for my rifle light, and you can't really find these rechargeable, and the rifle light doesn't consume a lot of energy, but it's really nice to have that illuminated reticle despite it being etched, and having a backup in the event that it dies while I'm out there to hot swap to. Super helpful. So this about addresses all of my power management needs out in the field. I carry this kit in some level, pretty much regardless of what I'm doing, whether it be travel, tactical operations, or just going out with the boys. I can plus and minus it up as needed, maybe taking away this solar kit if I want to save some weight, or this one if depending on what I'm going to be doing or what my needs are depending on the length of the operation. But this is just a way. This is the way that I've found has worked really well for me in the past 7 years of being in the combat arms and doing a variety of different field training exercises. But it's not the be all end all. I'm just hopeful that if you take anything from this video, it is a way of doing things. It can be a launching point for you to build your own power management kit based on your needs and increase your capability to do longer range LARPs against the HOA and the enemy Minecraft factions. And if you have any thoughts or input on this kit, things that you have utilized, lessons you've learned, or thoughts that you'd like to share with everybody, go ahead and hop down in the comments, let us know. I'm pretty responsive down there. When people ask questions or have comments on the video, I'm always open to feedback and constructive criticism. And if you really want to get autistic, we've got a Discord. Link is in the bio of my channel. YouTube doesn't like me posting links in the video description yet, so you have to go into the channel bio, into the description. You'll find it there. We talk about being afraid of girls, not being afraid of the dark, and other sorts of autistic little niche tactical skill sets like this. As always, keep your heads held high, Kings. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Let's get into it. Badass intro filmed.